Okay, so this is the effects of primary productivity on animal abundance across the continental United States. Here's a picture of a squirrel, and it says, wait, I promise it's not as boring as it sounds. So gross primary productivity is the rate at which solar energy is captured in sugar molecules during photosynthesis. And global patterns of species diversity are thought to reflect the energy availability in the environment, like the latitudinal diversity gradient, which states that there's a greater diversity of species closer to the equator, and then it decreases as you go farther away from the equator. And the more individuals hypothesis, which states that higher energy availability promotes a higher total number of individuals in a community, which consequently increases species richness by allowing for greater number of species with viable populations. The main objective of this study was to see if gross primary productivity had an effect on the abundance of mammals in a given study. And the methods for this, we used animal occurrence data from 2019 Snapshot USA Mammal Survey, which came from 1,513 camera trap sites in 107 arrays across the continental US. We compared measures of cumulative annual gross primary productivity to the relative abundance of mammals assessed as all carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores, and all animals together at the sub-project array level, and then compared cumulative gross primary productivity versus relative abundance of all mammals. We use detection rate as a measure of relative abundance by dividing the total number of detections for each group, dietary classification by the number of days all camera traps are active. And the results of this study, we found no statistically significant relationship between gross primary productivity and relative carnivore abundance of any animal group. Based on the lack of correlation between gross primary productivity and carnivore abundance, we conclude that areas with higher gross primary productivity do not have a direct influence on carnivore abundance. Here is the relationship between the relative abundance of mammalian carnivores that was measured as the detection rate and cumulative gross primary productivity. And this showed no correlation between the two. And this is the relationship between relative abundance of mammalian omnivores and cumulative gross primary productivity. And there was a slight positive correlation between the two. And although we found no correlation between gross primary productivity and the abundance of carnivores, we only used data from the continental US, limiting the data to only an area of relatively low gross primary productivity, and that's a shortfall of the study. And more research in all areas of the world needs to be done and able to draw conclusive results. And we think there was this slight positive correlation between the omnivores because there were so many more omnivores in the study, and it's species that occur in more abundance, like possums and raccoons. And that's it.